The Chad Armin versus the Doomer Eren. Spoilers ahead for Attack on Titan, the final season. A lot of people are confused about Attack on Titan's ending, and to be honest, fair enough. Especially with this being draft free, and it's added more context each and every time. People are confused about Eren's motive, and his answer when Armin asks him why he did all of this. I don't know. I just wanted to. On the surface level, Eren wanted true freedom. The true freedom that him and Armin dreamt of. Water like fire, mountains of ice. He wanted that not only for him, but for all of his friends. A world which is an absolute clean slate which could be anything. When he learned that the world was nothing like the books that he and Armin read, he wanted it all to vanish. And I think most people can definitely empathize with this. We all critique capitalism, authority, and government every single day. We all have our dreams of how we believe the world should be, and what it could be. Those dreams are usually just as half-baked as Eren's dreams. The vast majority of us would be absolutely terrible with power, despite our best intentions. And the only power that Eren had to change things was an army of titans and a vision for the future which constantly betrayed him. Combine that with the impending threat of war from Marley, Eren felt a push, a need to use that power and make that dream a reality. So beyond the surface level, it's important to know that Eren did not have this resolve from the beginning. He saw that he'd do this years before it actually happened, and each time he tried to change something, it happened exactly the way that he envisioned it. This creates an interesting paradox where Eren's entire life was orchestrated by Eren himself, but with no one true motive or beginning or end. He swore to kill all the titans after watching his mum die, yet he's the one who killed her. He activated the rumbling to save his friends, yet doing that killed his friends. He did it to save Parody, but in the end that creates the apocalypse. He dreamt about his own freedom, yet he had absolutely no choice in how to use his powers by the end. When asked why he did this, how can this man say anything other than, I don't know, I just wanted to? His entire being is a confusing mess of conflicting ideals and an insane power. Armin, I am a slave to freedom. Do you remember Kenny saying that everyone had to be drunk on something to stay alive? Armin is drunk on the idea of peace. Mikasa is drunk on the idea of love. Levi is drunk on the idea of being a hero. And Eren is drunk on the idea of freedom. Eren's powers are tragic. He has the ability to see the future, but no ability to change it. He declared he wouldn't die in the mouth of a titan, just to die in one a few years later. This is the best an idiot like me could do. A garden variety idiot who should have never had this power. This ties back into the themes of story and idols of worship. Like when Eren hugs Ymir and says, you're not a god or a devil, you're just a normal person. There are people on the island and in real life that absolutely worship Eren and his perceived ideals. They see him as a messiah symbol, but he's nothing but an idiot doing his best. And his best is genocide. Isayama has stated that Eren and Armin both represent parts of himself, and that Attack on Titan was written to kill the Eren part of him. The difference between Eren and Armin is that Armin could see the world that he told Eren about, but Eren couldn't. After escaping the walls, all Eren saw was another set of walls. Capitalism, authority, brutality, and hatred. He wanted it all to vanish. He wanted a clean slate. He wanted the world to be how he had always dreamed about. But when Armin sees the sea, he thinks it's beautiful. He sees the beauty of the world. He picks up a seashell, and he holds onto that seashell forever, even showing it to Eren in his final moments. You were always staring off into the distance so you couldn't see it. When they're sat in that river of blood, Eren picks up a bloody pile of hair, teeth, and bones. Armin says he's the same as Eren, as he picks up that same seashell, but now it's stained in blood. This represents a yin-yang of sorts. The bad with a tiny bit of good, and the good with a tiny bit of bad, reflecting both Eren and Armin's outlooks. Armin lets Eren know, but he was so focused on what's ahead, he never stopped to see what was at his feet the entire time. But despite the suffering in the world, despite imperfect conditions, and despite having to fight for it, life can be extremely beautiful amongst the tragedy. It need not be a blank canvas to see the beauty of the world. We can find it right now. Mikasa's famous phrase comes to mind. The world is cruel, but it's also very beautiful. And Eren throughout the story has repeatedly only acknowledged the first half. Whereas Armin and Mikasa can acknowledge that statement in full. That although the world can be hell, there's little glimpses of heaven in every day to help keep us going. The Jaeger brothers both have very similar arcs with Armin here, both feeling a sense of regret and longing. What a beautiful day. If only I had realised it sooner. Armin takes collective responsibility for putting the idea into Eren's head, because he also dreamed of a blank, empty world. But because Armin could always see the beauty of that hell, Armin would have never used that power. I think it's trying to tell the audience, we have to hold on to hope. We have to continue trying to make the world a better place. Otherwise, we'll create a monster like Eren. A monster who had no choice but to be anything but a monster. Ignore your inner doomer. Despite everything, life is worth living. I think the perfect closing words to represent this are Zeke's last words to Mr. Saber. If I could play catch with you one last time, maybe it was worth being born.